Hey team, hello YouTube, hope we're all doing well. Today I wanted to talk to you about what to do with your training when you are feeling tired. So most of us at some point will experience waking up, or maybe we don't even wake up because we've been awake all night, but we wanted to train. So what do you do in those instances? The way I like to think about it, and I do think about it, is the first thing I'll look at is generally, I'll zoom out a little bit and I'll think, how does this day fit into my overall context of being at the moment? If I had a horrible night's sleep last night and I feel pretty awful, but overall my sleep has been pretty good, then I won't let that one night generally dictate too much around what I'm doing. I'll push on through. I probably feel crap. I'm gonna feel crap anyway, so I may as well train, and at least I've ticked something off and I don't make it a big thing. If, on the other hand, you're going through a period where you are suffering from poor sleep ongoing, or there's some chronic stress in the background and you're just not feeling great, then this is the time when I would normally start thinking about what do I need to adjust, because we don't just want to add more and more stress onto the body, even if it is through training, because your body doesn't know the difference between the stress of your training and the stress of whatever else is going on in your life. So we need to be able to recover from it. So if it's been a more chronic period of stuff going on affecting your well-being, then I start thinking about what I'm doing in the sessions, down to the micro of what sets and reps I'm doing, what sort of movements am I doing, what intensity am I doing them at. So one example of this is if there was a pretty heavy lower body session planned, the first thing that I might do to make it a little bit gentler on my recovery, on my nervous system, and also just on my ability to turn up and do it well, I would most likely just drop back the volume a little bit. Okay, so if it was programmed for 5 sets of deadlift, I would either just do like 2 or 3 sets maybe, or if I was going to do 5 sets, I would step load it. So what I mean by step loading is I would start very light, and essentially I'm just warming up to like one heavy top set. I might even do that just across 3 sets. So that would be one sort of variable that you could change, because your immune system is largely affected, your recovery is largely affected, not so much generally by intensity of strength training, but more by the overall volume, historically speaking, with what research shows anyway. The next sort of thing that you could change is actual movements. So if you did have a deadlift programmed on your program, then you might change that movement to something that is a little bit less central nervous system taxing. A deadlift is quite taxing on the nervous system because it requires such a big input from our muscles, from our brain, and generally it's a heavy movement. So you could change that to something a little bit more friendly. It could be like a Romanian deadlift. You're going to be using less load generally in a Romanian deadlift. It's not going to be quite as taxing. Or you could change it to something like machine based. You could change it to higher reps and more of like a bodybuilding style template workout, where it's more about getting blood flow to the muscles rather than mechanical tension where we're really trying to lift heavy. So there are a couple of things that I would think about. And then depending on how far down the rabbit hole you are of stress, of poor sleep, of low energy, as to how much I would keep on changing. So like I said, volume we can cut back on. Exercise selection we can change. How close we are to failure, i.e. intensity of each set, can also be changed. But this would be one of probably the later variables I would change. If we're talking aerobically, not just strength training, I would prefer in quite a chronic situation to be doing more steady state type aerobic work rather than really high intensity, big rest breaks type aerobic work, or that might be more anaerobic work. Okay, so, and then some other things that I do personally, I like to be out in the sun training where I can, if I'm really sort of poor on recovery, if my sleep's been bad, helps the circadian rhythm a little bit, and it just feels nice to be outside in that situation. Other things to think about is duration of the session, okay, because duration is going to matter as well. And then think about fueling around your session. If you are sleep deprived, if you have high stress, you're gonna have a little bit of a higher need for carbohydrate than normal. So think about ensuring that you really do fuel those sessions, perhaps even more so in those chronic states of stress, in those chronic states of poor sleep. And by all means, use caffeine. Okay, if you're a caffeine drinker, use coffee as a pre-workout, but you of course don't want to go too hard on the coffee before your workout or on the caffeine, because you're therefore, just adding more stress and potentially affecting your sleep more that same night. So they're the sort of things that I think about with training, with poor recovery or poor sleep. I preface still trying to do something, but when it becomes more of a chronic situation, then I just look at changing those variables. So hopefully that helps. It's something that takes a lot to tune in with your body and tune in with what you need. So go have fun, tune in with the body. I don't like to rely on apps and sleep metrics and stuff too much, because I feel like we lose our intuition and we lose our wisdom that we can gain from looking within a little bit more. It is cool to get that data personally sometimes, but I don't become too over-reliant on it. That's just me personally and how I think about it. Hopefully this chat has helped you. If it has, put some comments in there. I'd love to hear from you. We'll see you soon.